Okay, so I want to start today by just putting a number on the table.
Oh.
A number that, frankly, when you first see it, it just makes absolutely no sense.
I think I have a feeling I know which number you're about to say.
I mean, if you look at it through the lens of basic supply and demand or, just basic human survival instincts, this number should be a flashing red siren telling everyone to just run.
To evacuate.
Go on. 5,249.
There it is, yes.
And just to be crystal clear for everyone listening, that is $5,249
Every month.
every single month. As of right now, February 2026, that is the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in New York City.
The average.
The average. We aren't talking about some penthouse with a view of Central Park. We're not talking about a doorman building with a gym and, I don't know, a pet spa.
No.
That is the average price just to have a roof over your head and a door that locks.
It is a staggering figure. It really is.
Yeah.
And to put that in perspective for a second, in many parts of this country, and certainly in many parts of Europe, that monthly figure is a down payment on a house.
A down payment.
Or at least the full mortgage payment on a mansion in some places.
Exactly. And what if you have a family? What if you need a second bedroom? Then you're suddenly staring down the barrel of nearly $8,000 a month.
$8,000.
So here's my problem with this. We have spent the last 6 years, basically since the start of the 2020s, hearing about the death of the city.
Oh, constantly. The city is over.
It's over. We have Zoom, we have VR headsets, we have the ability to work from a cabin in Montana or a beach in Bali. Logic dictates that people should be leaving in droves.
Right. The great migration out.
And yet we're looking at a city of 8.8 million people who are apparently choosing to stay and pay this ransom. Why? I mean, is it mass delusion?
It does look like financial masochism on the surface, doesn't it?
It looks like a scam. I mean, honestly.
But this is the core of the paradox of New York in 2026. If you only look at the expense side of the ledger, it is completely irrational.
Okay.
But you have to look at the other side.
Okay.
And, urban economists and sociologists have coined a term for this, which I think is really, really helpful. They call it the metropolitan value proposition.
The metropolitan value proposition.
Dude,
That sounds like something a consultant made up to justify a consulting fee.
It does sound a bit corporate, I'll grant you that.
Yeah.
But the concept itself is actually very grounding.
How so?
It frames the decision to live in the city not as let's say, a consumer purchase like buying a luxury car where you just enjoy the leather seats, but as an investment strategy.
An investment.
Exactly. The argument is that the exorbitant cost of living is the capital you put in. It's your buy-in.
Okay, so the rent is my buy-in. I'm paying $5,000 a month. What's the dividend? What's the return on that investment?
The dividend is, well, it's multifaceted. It's the return in the form of an accelerated career trajectory, for one. It's access to a density of culture you can't find anywhere else on the planet.
Right.
And it's a very specific type of resilient infrastructure that, and this is key, actually lowers other costs in your life. The theory is that the opportunity density of New York is so high that it offsets the cash burn.
Opportunity density. No, I like that phrase better. It feels more tangible.
It is. It's about the sheer number of chances you have per square mile.
So today's deep dive is basically an audit then. We're going to try to look past the tourist brochures, past the iHeartNY mugs, and really drill into the machinery of the city in 2026.
That's the plan.
And we've got a massive stack of sources here to help us do it. Economic reports from the city controller, we have data on the creative economy, guides to the startup ecosystem, and some really fascinating deep dives into neighborhood demographics.
And our mission today is to figure out if the math actually holds up. Is the engine of New York City running efficiently enough to justify that price of admission? Because the city has changed. It really has. It is not the same place it was in 2019 or even 2023.
So let's pop the hood. And I think we have to start with the money. Because if you can't pay that $5,000 rent, nothing else we talk about matters.
Always the best place to start. Follow the money.
Now, I feel like there's this entrenched stereotype about the New York economy. You think New York, you think Wall Street.
Oh, Corey.
You think guys in fleece vests screaming about bond yields or, the Wolf of Wall Street throwing lobsters at people.
It's a very, very sticky image, for better or for worse.
But looking at the data for 2026, it feels really incomplete. Is Wall Street still the whole game?
It's the anchor. I mean, we can't pretend it isn't. You have to start there.
Yeah.
We're talking about a gross metropolitan product of nearly $2.3 trillion.
$2.3 trillion.
It's a number that barely means anything. It's so large. And Yes, the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ are still the two largest exchanges in the world. That gravitational pull of capital is real, and it is the foundation.
Okay, so the foundation is strong.
But, and this is the important part,
Yeah.
if you look at the delta, the change over the last decade,
Yep.
it's not about traditional banking anymore. We're seeing this massive shift toward what economists are calling finance innovation.
Finance innovation. Break that down for me. Is that just a fancy way of saying banks are using better calculators?
It's a lot more than that. It's a fundamental synthesis.
Yeah.
You still have this incredible concentration of what they call advanced service firms.
Yeah.
So, law, accountancy, management consulting, the support system for capital.
Right.
But that has merged with a premier fintech center.
Yeah.
So it's no longer just about trading stocks. It's about inventing the algorithms that trade the stocks. It's about building the cybersecurity architecture that protects the entire global financial system.
So it's less about the guy on the floor of the exchange waving a ticket and more about the coder in a hoodie in an office in Chelsea who's writing the script that replaces that guy.
Precisely. And that requires a fundamentally different type of talent, which leads us directly to the tech sector.
This is what really surprised me in the research. I mean, I, like most people, always thought of tech as a West Coast game. Silicon Valley, Seattle.
That was the narrative for a long time.
But looking at the real estate map of Manhattan in 2026, it looks like a tech colony. It's everywhere.
It absolutely is. I mean, we used to call it Silicon Alley, which was sort of a cute nickname for a few blocks in the Flatiron district.
Right, it was a little neighborhood.
It was a neighborhood, but now it's a physical reality that dominates huge swaths of the city. I mean, look at the footprints. Facebook, or Meta, I guess we should say, took 730,000 square feet in the Farley building.
And that's the old post office building, right? The massive one with the columns across from Penn Station.
That's the one. Think about the symbolism there. A historic landmark that used to process physical mail is now the headquarters for a digital social network.
That is pretty on the nose.
And then you have TikTok taking massive space right in the heart of Times Square. Google has essentially bought the entire west side of Chelsea. Amazon is huge. Spotify is here. It's a who's who of big tech.
Okay, but here's my question. Why? We established that remote work is a thing, a very real thing.
Yes.
If you're running a digital platform, why on earth are you paying New York commercial rents, which are the highest in the world? Why not put your server farm in Nevada and your coders in, I don't know, a nice affordable suburb somewhere?
It comes down to what we call cluster advantages.
Okay, unpack that for me. What is a cluster advantage?
It's the idea that talent attracts talent and that density creates an efficiency that you can't replicate remotely.
How so?
Let's look at the data. The data shows that New York City is home to 2.3 million people with bachelor's degrees.
2.3 million people.
Now, to put that in perspective, because it's hard to visualize, that is more degree holders than Boston, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and Los Angeles combined.
Wait, say that again? Combined, all of those major cities put together?
Yes. You add up all the bachelor's degrees in all those cities, and New York still has more.
That's insane.
It is. So if you're a Google or a TikTok, and you need to hire, say, 1,000 engineers who specialize in natural language processing AI.
A very specific skill set.
A very specific skill set. You can't find that many people in a suburb. You might find 10. In New York, you can find 10,000. You are paying the rent for the liquidity of the talent pool. You can scale up or down faster here than anywhere else.
So it's a numbers game. You're buying access to the deepest well of talent.
Exactly.
But this wasn't an accident, right? I seem to remember going back to the Bloomberg and de Blasio eras, there was this real anxiety that the city was a one-trick pony. If Wall Street crashed, the entire city died.
100%. The 2008 financial crisis was a brutal wake-up call. The city realized its tax base was dangerously dependent on the cycles of the financial markets.
So they needed to diversify.
They needed to deliberately cultivate other industries. And the crown jewel of that entire strategy, without a doubt, is Cornell Tech.
The campus on Roosevelt Island. I've taken the tram over there. It really does look like something from a sci-fi movie. All glass and steel.
It's stunning. And the origin story there is just fascinating. The Bloomberg administration realized they were lagging way behind Silicon Valley in engineering talent. They had the finance guys, the lawyers, but not the builders.
Right.
So he essentially ran a global contest. They put out a call and said, we have this land on Roosevelt Island, and we have $100 million in seed money. Who can build us a world-class applied sciences and engineering campus?
That's a pretty good incentives package.
It's a fantastic one. And
Wow.
Cornell University partnered with the Technon Israel Institute of Technology, put together the winning bid. And now in 2026, we're really seeing the fruit of that tree.
It's more than just a school.
Oh, much more. It's a $2 billion campus now. But the key, the thing that makes it so different, is that it wasn't designed to be just an ivory tower. It was designed specifically to spin out companies.
How does that actually work in practice?
The curriculum is totally integrated with the startup world. Students in their master's programs aren't just writing papers. They're building products in teams. They're pitching to VCs. It's part of the grade.
So it's an incubator built into a university.
The perfect description. And the result is that over 60 startups have spun directly out of that campus. It is a pipeline that takes raw intelligence from all over the world and turns it into local New York companies that hire local people.
So they're literally growing their own tech ecosystem rather than just trying to import it from California.
Correct. And we're seeing that exact same playbook being run in an even more surprising sector, biotech and life sciences.
Yeah, this one threw me. I mean, I know we have great hospitals, but I usually think of Boston or maybe San Diego when I hear biotech.
That's the traditional view.
It seems so hard to do in a crowded city. You need labs, right? You need special ventilation, hazardous waste protocols. You can't just do that in a skyscraper.
It is incredibly difficult and incredibly expensive. You can't just rent a WeWork and start curing cancer. You need what's called a wet lab. You need heavy, specialized infrastructure.
So who's building it?
The city realized the private market wasn't going to build it fast enough, so they stepped in to facilitate it.
What did they do?
They greenlit and supported the East River Science Park, right on Manhattan's east side. That's over 1 million square feet of commercial bioscience space. And then there's BioBat.
BioBeat. It sounds like a villain's lair from a comic book.
It sort of is. It stands for the Brooklyn Army Terminal.
You're kidding!
Not at all. They took this massive, cavernous industrial space on the Brooklyn waterfront, a place that was used to ship supplies during World War II, and converted it into high-end, state-of-the-art wet labs. It's about 500,000 square feet.
So you literally have PhDs in lab coats working in an old Army terminal.
Exactly. And because New York already has 9 major academic medical centers, places like Columbia, NYU, Rockefeller University, you have arguably the highest concentration of academic research in the country.
Right.
Now, with places like BioBat, you have a place for that research to go when it wants to become a business. It creates a sticky ecosystem. A researcher at Columbia has a breakthrough. They can spin out a company and rent lab space a few miles away in Brooklyn. They don't have to move to Boston.
It keeps the talent and the potential profits right here.
That's the entire strategy.
So, okay, the economic engine is humming. It's diversified. We have the banks, we have the tech giants, we have the scientists in the Army terminal. But let's play devil's advocate for a second.
Please.
You can have a very rich city that is also a very, very boring city, a sterile city. If the rent is $5,000, how are the artists surviving? Is the soul of New York just a memory at this point?
This is the eternal bohemian versus bourgeois tension that people have been arguing about in New York since, I don't know, the 1970s. But if we look at the 2026 data, the creative economy is surprisingly robust.
Is it? Or is it just, trust fund kids pretending to be artists in Bushwick?
Well, let's look at the numbers. The creative sector as a whole accounts for 1 in every $8 of economic activity in the city.
1 in 8.
1 in every $8. That is a $110 billion impact. It's not a niche market. It's a pillar of the economy.
That is massive. So what does that actually include?
We have to broaden our definition of creative. It's not just the painter in a loft in Soho. I mean, let's be honest, that era is probably gone for good.
Right.
But it is nearly 300,000 jobs. It's the sound tech on a Broadway show. It's the sewing machine operator in the garment district. It's the museum administrator.
It's the whole ecosystem.
The entire ecosystem. It's the fashion industry. Fashion Week alone generates hundreds of millions in tax revenue. It's publishing. New York is still the book capital of the world with 25,000 jobs. It's advertising on Madison Avenue. It's an industry.
In New York, art is money.
Exactly. Look at film and TV production.
I feel like every time I walk down my block, I have to dodge a production trailer or a craft services table. There's always something being filmed.
You probably do, because New York is now the world leader in independent film production. 1/3 of all American indie films are produced right here.
1/3? Why? Is it just the scenery? Everyone wants a shot of the Empire State Building?
The scenery helps, but it's the Made in NY tax credit system. The state and the city both offer significant tax breaks for shooting here, which makes it financially viable.
It's another deliberate government strategy.
It is, but again, it's about the infrastructure that grows around those incentives. You have Steiner Studios in Brooklyn, which is this massive Hollywood-style complex, and just recently, the new studio backed by Robert De Niro opened in Astoria, Queens.
I read about that. That was a huge, huge investment.
$400 million. You do not spend $400 million building sound stages if you think the industry is dying. You do it because you know the talent, the gaffers, the lighting technicians, the set designers, the sound engineers, they're all here. You can crew up a major film in an afternoon.
Okay, so the big commercial art, the movies, Broadway, that's safe. But what about the scrappy stuff? I'm thinking about the music scene. Because if you're an indie band, you aren't playing Steiner Studios. You're playing a dive bar with a sticky floor.
This is the cultural soundscape. And you're right, it is much more fragile. At the top, you have the Giants, Madison Square Garden, Barclays Center. Billy Joel has played the Garden over 100 times. He's practically part of the architecture now.
He comes with the building.
He comes with the building. And you have the historic institutions like Carnegie Hall, which has been there since 1891, and the Apollo in Harlem.
The Apollo is legendary.
I mean, think about the weight of that stage. Amateur Night at the Apollo launched the careers of Ella Fitzgerald, Lauryn Hill, James Brown. That history is an economic engine in itself. It keeps people coming.
But for me, the real test of a city's musical health is the small room, the Blue Note for jazz, the Bitter End in the Village where Bob Dylan got his start, the Bowery Ballroom. Are those places surviving the rent hikes?
They are hanging on, but it is a constant fight. These small venues operate on razor-thin margins. A bad month, a rent increase, and they're gone.
That they're so important.
They're essential for the ecosystem. If you don't have the Bowery Ballroom, you don't discover the band that eventually sells out Barclays Center. It's the farm system.
So is the city doing anything about it?
They are, actually.
Did you?
The city recognized this vulnerability a few years back and appointed a nightlife mayor.
A nightlife mayor. I love that title. That sounds like a fun job.
It sounds fun, but it's a serious bureaucratic role. Their entire job is to be a liaison between these small venues and the city government, to help them navigate the red tape, the noise complaints, the zoning issues.
So it's an official acknowledgement that nightlife isn't a nuisance?
It's an asset, crucial part of the creative economy.
Okay, so we have the money, we have the art, but most people don't live in a soundstage or a hedge fund office. They live in a neighborhood. And this is where I think the New York experience really lives or dies on the block level.
Absolutely. And when we talk about neighborhoods in 2026, we have to talk about a concept called super diversity.
That's a cool term. Is that an official sociological concept?
It is. It refers to a level of diversity that goes beyond just, a few simple ethnic or racial categories. It's diversity within diversity. And the global capital of super diversity is Queens.
Right. The source material mentions that Queens actually holds a Guinness World Record for this.
It does. The most ethnically diverse urban area on the planet.
On the planet, not just the country.
On the planet. There are over 800 languages spoken in New York City as a whole, and the density of that linguistic and cultural diversity in the borough of Queens is unmatched anywhere in the world.
I've experienced this firsthand, and it's really sensory overload in the best possible way.
Right.
If you go to Jackson Heights, for example, it's just a whirlwind.
Describe it.
You can be walking down 74th Street and see Tibetan monks in their robes chanting on a park bench. Then 5 feet later, there's a cart selling Nepalese momos, these incredible dumplings. Then right next door is a store glittering with Indian gold jewelry, and across the street is a Colombian bakery selling fresh bread.
It's a full-body experience.
It is. And if you go to Astoria, you have the old-timers sitting outside cafes speaking Cypriot or Serbian over Greek coffee. You go to Woodside, and you have families speaking Spanish over birria tacos. It feels like you can travel the world in an afternoon on the 7 train.
And this connects directly back to the value proposition, right? This isn't just a fun cultural quirk. They call this gastronomic geography.
Gastronomic geography, I love it.
And this is the budget angle that people often miss when they just look at that $5,000 rent price.
Right.
Yes, your apartment is expensive, but your access to world-class culture, specifically food culture, is incredibly low barrier,
Meaning cheap?
meaning affordable and deeply accessible. Look, you can go to a Michelin-starred restaurant in Manhattan and drop $500 on a meal, for sure.
Of course.
But you can also hop on the subway to Flushing and get the best dim sum outside of Asia for $20. You can get a dollar slice, well, okay, maybe a $2 slice in 2026 that is better than any pizza you'll find in the Midwest.
So you don't have to be rich to eat like a king.
Exactly. The density of these immigrant communities creates a fiercely competitive market for authentic, affordable food. It's a massive quality of life booster that doesn't show up in the GDP, but it matters deeply to the people who live here.
And you can walk to all of it. Which brings us to a weirdly specific point in the research that I found fascinating. Health.
Yes, the walkability factor.
I usually think of New York as a stressful, polluted place that takes years off your life. I picture the smog and the noise, but the data suggests the opposite.
It does, and it all comes down to walkability. In most of America, owning a car is a basic necessity. You can't function without one.
It's your lifeline.
In New York, for most people, it's a liability. It's expensive to buy, it's impossible to park, it's a headache. So what do people do? They walk. You walk to the subway, you walk to the grocery store, you walk to the laundromat, you walk up 5 flights of stairs to your apartment.
It's forced exercise, basically. It's built into your day.
It is free transportation that just happens to double as daily cardio. And the studies cited in these reports are pretty clear. Residents of highly walkable cities have significantly lower rates of obesity and cardiovascular disease compared to people in car-dependent suburbs.
So the subway stairs are actually saving our lives. Who knew?
In a way, yes. And the infrastructure that supports this is constantly improving. The subway runs 2004/7, which is incredibly rare on a global scale. You have the expanded ferry system now connecting the waterfronts in Brooklyn and Queens to Manhattan.
Right, the ferries are great.
And you have these linear parks like the High Line, which took an old elevated rail line and turned it into this beautiful public promenade. You are constantly in motion in this city.
Now, we are recording this in early 2026, and looking at the calendar, this is a massive year for the city. It really feels like there's a lot of energy building up.
There are some major anniversaries and events happening right now or about to happen. One of the most significant culturally is the centennial of the Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture.
100 years. That's incredible. Tell us about it.
It's located up in Harlem, and it's part of the New York Public Library system. But calling it just a library is a huge understatement. It is a global treasure. It stewards 11 million items, manuscripts, photographs, art, recordings, all related to the African-American and African diasporic experience.
11 million items.
It's one of the most important archives of Black history and culture in the world.
And they're pulling out all the stops for the anniversary, right?
Oh, absolutely. The whole year is packed. There's the 100 Black Voices reading list, which is fantastic. There's the annual Black Comic Book Festival, which gets bigger every year. And they have special exhibitions featuring priceless artifacts from people like Malcolm X and the jazz musician Sonny Rollins. It's a moment where the city is really centering and celebrating its history.
And then on a totally different scale, literally a global scale, we had the World Cup.
We do. 2026 is the World Cup year, hosted across North America.
Now, the matches themselves are technically happening over in New Jersey at the Stadium, correct?
Correct. But New York is the primary hub. They're turning Rockefeller Center into a massive fan fest for the entire month. The sheer logistics of it are going to be insane.
I can already hear the honking and the chanting.
But it signals something really important. Tourism has fully rebounded. We're looking at projections of over 47 million visitors this year. Plus, we have Sail 250 coming up, which is the big historic anniversary celebration with all the tall ships in the harbor. The city is emphatically back on the world stage.
Okay, so let's pivot. We've talked about the macro, the economy, the culture, the big events. But I want to get micro for a bit. I want to talk to the listener who's thinking, okay, this all sounds incredibly exciting, but I'm still terrified of the cost. We promised them an insider's toolkit. How do you actually survive here without going completely broke?
The first thing, and I cannot stress this enough, if you live in New York and you do not have an IDNYC card, you are literally throwing money away.
This is the municipal ID card, the city-issued ID.
Yes. And other people think, oh, I have a driver's license, I don't need that. Wrong. You do. It is known as the key to the city for a very good reason.
What does it get you?
It grants you free one-year memberships to over 35 of the city's top cultural institutions.
Wait, free as in I just walk into the museum and I don't have to pay?
You sign up, you get a membership card in the mail. We're talking about the Met, MoMA, the Bronx Zoo, the Brooklyn Children's Museum, the Museum of the City of New York.
That's incredible value. A single ticket to some of those places is $30.
Easily. If you actually used all those memberships over the course of a year, you are saving hundred, maybe over $1,000 a year in admission fees.
Wow.
And it's not just museums. It gets you 5% off at Food Bazaar supermarkets. It gets you discounts on city bike memberships. You can get movie tickets for as low as $8 at certain theaters. It is a massive, underutilized resource that the city created specifically to make life more affordable for residents.
That is a great tip. Okay, what about for the ambitious listener, the one who's here not just to see museums, but to build something? If I want to launch a startup, where do I even begin? I can't afford a fancy office.
You need to plug into the incubator and accelerator network. We mentioned Cornell Tech as the mothership, but there's a whole layer of support systems below that.
Give us the list. Where do you go?
Okay, so if you're in general tech software, apps, you look at places like Techstars or ERA, which is the Entrepreneurs Roundtable Accelerator, they're legendary. But if you're doing something physical hardware, robotics, drones, you go to New Lab at the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
I've been to New Lab. It is mind-blowing. It's this cathedral of innovation. They have these massive prototyping machines, 3D printers the size of cars.
It's incredible. Then, if your focus is on smart cities or climate tech, you look at UrbanX in Greenpoint. If you're in fashion, there's the CFDA Fashion Incubator. The point is, whatever your field, there is a support network here. You don't have to build it alone in your bedroom.
And speaking of bedrooms, we have to talk about the third space concept, because let's be real, your apartment is probably the size of a shoebox.
If you're lucky.
You aren't hosting a dinner party for 12 people in your living room. It's not happening.
No, you are not. In New York, the city is your living room. That is the fundamental trade-off that you make. You accept a small, expensive private space in exchange for a massive, vibrant, shared public space.
So the park is your backyard. A cafe is your office. The museum is your art collection.
Exactly. Co-working spaces, public atriums, coffee shops, libraries. You live your life out in the city, not hidden away in your home. And that, by design, forces social interaction and serendipity.
Which leads us perfectly into the final calculus, section 6, cost versus opportunity. We have to really weigh it out now.
And we have to be completely honest about the negatives. The rent is $5,000. The pollution levels are higher than in the country. The noise is constant. It is a stressful, high-friction environment. There are days it will grind you down.
No doubt. So where is the balance? Why do we do it? What is the ultimate justification?
It comes back to what some people call the career premium. The technical term economists use is the agglomeration effect.
That sounds fancy. What does it mean in plain English?
It means that by being physically present in a dense cluster of talent in your industry, your career moves faster than it would anywhere else. You benefit from what's called spontaneous networking.
The serendipity factor, the happy accidents.
Yes, you run into a future collaborator at a coffee shop. You hear about a job opening at a gallery opening a week before it ever hits LinkedIn. The velocity of information and opportunity is just higher here.
So the argument is that you might pay more in rent, but your salary potential and the speed at which you reach that potential is significantly higher.
Exactly. Especially if you are in those key industries: finance, media, tech, law, or the arts. The premium you earn over your career often more than offsets the higher cost of living. If, and this is a big important if, you are in one of those high-growth industries, it doesn't work for everyone.
And what if you just need a break from it all? What if you're burned out on the networking and the hustle? Where do you go that doesn't cost a dime?
Then you go to the library.
The libraries, again, we keep coming back to them. They seem to be the answer to everything.
They are the secret sanctuaries of the city. The New York Public Library System, the Brooklyn Public Library, Queens Public Library. They are not just warehouses for books. They are safe, they are clean, they are quiet, and they are completely free.
And they offer more than just books.
So much more. They offer free English classes for new immigrants. They offer tech training for seniors. They have the Culture Pass program where you can check out a pass to get free entry into dozens of venues.
It really is the democratic backbone of the city, the great equalizer.
In a city that is defined by noise and expense, the library is quiet and free. That is a vital emotional and financial anchor for millions of people.
So we've looked at the numbers, the neighborhoods, the culture, and the tools, and it all brings us back to the synthesis. The New York paradox.
It is exhausting. It is expensive. It's crowded. By all logical metrics, it should be an unlivable place.
But
But it is also the professional crucible. It's a place that accelerates potential like nowhere else. The metropolitan value proposition isn't about comfort. If you want comfort in a big backyard, move to the suburbs. That's a valid choice. This is about access.
Access to what?
Access to the best talent, the most capital, and the most diverse culture on Earth, all crammed into a few hundred square miles.
So the value isn't in the square footage of your apartment, it's in what happens the second you walk out your front door.
Precisely. The value is the city itself. You're paying rent on the whole island.
It's a compelling argument.
Yeah.
But it is definitely not for everyone.
No, it is absolutely not. It is a specific and demanding lifestyle choice.
Okay, so I want to leave our listeners with a final thought to chew on. We are living in an era where you can technically do your job from anywhere. We've proven that. And yet, New York City in 2026 is actually growing in jobs and rents are rising. People are voting with their feet and their wallets to be here.
It raises a fascinating question about human nature, doesn't it? For all our technology, we seem to crave physical connection and proximity more than we crave comfort.
Right. So the question is, does the intense pressure of this city crush ambition, or does it refine it like a diamond?
The old saying is, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
But the real question for 2026 seems to be, is the price of admission worth the ticket?
That is the $5,000 question, and it's one that only the individual can answer for themselves.
And on that note, we're going to wrap up this deep dive. Whether you're listening to this on a crowded subway car or from a spacious living room somewhere else, we hope this gave you a new perspective on the concrete jungle. Keep exploring your own deep dives.
Thanks for listening.
See you next time.